Time to get you dialed into the biggest stories of the day. This is the Daily 10 with Matt Chernoff.
Welcome into Wednesday's edition of the Daily 10, presented by the Daily Draft in downtown Woodstock. It's All-Star Week, celebrating 1 year of the Daily Draft being open in downtown Woodstock. And Chernoff, tell them what they got going on.
Yes, indeed. We're brought to you by the Daily Draft in downtown Woodstock on Main Street. You can find out more about the Daily Draft if you follow them on Facebook and Instagram at Daily Draft Tap Room and Bar. You could also find out more at dailydraft.net, but it is All-Star Celebration Week as the Daily Draft all this week celebrates their 1 year anniversary. So all this week they've got food and drink specials, celebrity appearances, tickets to give away to baseball games. You know, the local baseball team here in town. They've got wing eating challenges. They've got kids eat free chances for you to bring everybody out. I want you to follow the Daily Draft Tap Room and Bar on Instagram and Facebook all this week for all the updates, because they're adding new events, new appearances, new giveaways happening all this week. So it's the Daily Draft. It's the ultimate sports bar experience, not your daddy's sports bar. We're talking wall-to-wall flat screens, a craft bar, outdoor great sitting area, billiards, darts. It's beautiful. And now you can get some of your food right there on the street to go as you get ready for big celebrations in the summer. So, All-Star Week celebration happening all this week at the Daily Draft. And if you go have lunch there, mention the Daily 10 podcast. They'll take 10% off for your lunch order at the Daily Draft.
Braves win, Hawks lose. We'll get to all of that. We'll start with the Atlanta Hawks. They follow the 76ers 118-102. That series tied 1-1. Game 3 will be in Atlanta Friday night. Trae Young, 21 points in 38 minutes, but it was more about Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid dropped 40 on 35 minutes. I talked about the minutes output that he gave in Game 1, not being able to match that. Well, I was wrong on that, and not only did he match that, he exceeded his points output, and he was just everywhere. The 76ers got up to a huge lead, but the real story of this game was, for 3 quarters, 76ers had every opportunity to put the Hawks away and couldn't until the end of the third, when Shake Milton hit a three-pointer as time expired. 14 off the bench for Shake Milton, and they didn't have bench points until the third quarter, when Shake Milton came on and knocked down a three. At one point, the 76ers were up 18 points on the Hawks in the first half. They go into halftime only up by 2. I think it's more about what the Hawks didn't do in Game 2 than what Philadelphia did in Game 2 to win the game. 17 turnovers for the Hawks. Unacceptable. That's not how you win games. Charles Barkley talked about it at halftime. The Hawks showed that they were a young, immature team in that game, and he's absolutely right. The careless passes, the turnovers. You don't win playoff games when you have 17 turnovers in the playoff games compared to Philadelphia's 7 turnovers. Huge performance for Kevin Huerter, 20 off the bench. Danilo Gallinari, 21. The Hawks weren't necessarily shooting great from three-point percentage. They didn't have threes when it mattered. They started the game 0 for 4 from three-point land. Ended up shooting about 36% for the game as a whole. Trae Young, 1 of 7 from three-point land. Bogey, 2 of 6 from 3. Again, more about what the Hawks didn't do in Game 2 than what Philadelphia did to cause this effect. Now, Ben Simmons did showcase a better option in defending Trae Young, but what we talked about on yesterday's Daily 10 holds true. He had to sacrifice on the offensive end to cover Trae for a bulk, not the entirety, but even just the bulk of the game. Ben Simmons only had 4 points in his 35 minutes. Spent a lot of time guarding Trae, being a pest to Trae Young, and it was relatively effective. Blocked a three-point attempt, but still, Trae was able to get 11 assists in the game. The number that stands out, minus 11 for Trae Young, minus 25 for Clint Capella, minus 10 for Bogey. The starters could not get off in Game 2. The bench had to carry them. Simply the standout play, Shake Milton knocking down that three to end the third quarter. That made the lead from 4 to 7, and the Wells Fargo Center lost their mind. The Hawks could not get back into the game after that point. the Hawks had plenty of opportunities, and when they went on the run to close out the second quarter, they had that arena so quiet you can hear a Philly fan licking poop off of the sidewalk. And then that sorry double technical that they gave to Embiid and Danilo. Listen, if that is a regular season game, that is an easy double tech to Embiid, and he's out of the game. But for some reason, it's playoff time. You have to allow more leeway, more frustration, and Joel Embiid, MVP contender, gets that. But under no circumstances should Gallo had been given a technical. And if they only assess the technical to Embiid, that allows Gallo to remain physical, and he was physical with Embiid all game long up to that point, to a point where it frustrated Embiid, and that's where that course of events came from. So no technical to Gallo allows Gallo to be more physical and to get more in the head of Embiid while he's working on a technical, and who knows how that would have played out or changed the course of the events. But you live, you learn, and you come back to Atlanta, and this is shaping up very similar to the Knicks series. Friday night, State Farm Arena. Expect that place to be crazy loud, crazy rocking, and if the Hawks can win that, they take a stranglehold on the series. Over to the Braves, they won 9-5 against Philadelphia last night, and we mentioned this on yesterday's edition of the Daily 10 as well. What this series is going to shape out to be, a battle of the bullpens and who implodes last between these two bullpens. Shane Green, in his first appearance with the big league club this season, 1 out, gave up 3 hits and 2 runs, including a home run to JT Realmuto. But don't worry, he was outdone by Connor Brogdon of Philadelphia, who had his own terrible line, getting 1 out, giving up 2 runs, 3 hits, and allowing the Braves to come back and level and take the lead off of an Austin Riley home run, and then William Contreras singles in Swanson to give the Braves the 6-5 advantage. They go on to win 9-5. Now, the bullpen had a couple of bright spots in there. Newcomb comes in there, shutdown inning. Minter, shutdown inning. Smith, a shutdown inning. Doubling back to Shane Green, I wouldn't necessarily read too much into this outing. His first outing, as I mentioned before, with the big league club. Minor league baseball isn't up to the play level and par that we have known minor league baseball to be when these guys are making these appearances. They've had a disjointed start to their season due to COVID-19 as well. They're still feeling the effects. A lot of these AAA guys are on taxi squads with the major league clubs, so they're not playing in games. Then they're getting shuffled back down to at least get some reps before moving back up. So Shane Green's dominant line in AAA doesn't necessarily translate or give him a lot of things that he can build on. It's just working on, can you get your curveball to curve? Can you get your cutter to cut, your fastball, your zip, your velocity, and to get those reps in going to the ballpark every day. He needed one of these outings at the major league level to see how his stuff works against major league hitting. This may end up just being the anomaly that we see from Shane Green, but I think it's more of just getting your major league legs under you, and he will be fine, and he could be a real important staple for this Braves bullpen, because as of right now, you don't have a guy that you necessarily can bring in high leverage and trust that they can get you that big power out and walk off the mound, and then you can go back into your bullpen and play these matchups, because that's what Brian Snitker is going to have to do. You're going to have to bring in Newcomb. Hopefully it's lefty heavy and he can get through his inning, and then you bring in Minter, and then you bring in Smith, and then you bring in a Luke Jackson. You don't want to necessarily start any of these guys at this point in high leverage situation, and it's not necessarily in inning high leverage with runners on in a tight ball game. It's high leverage as in you're going to face a heart of an order coming up and they're down by 1. Though that to this point, you don't necessarily have that confidence in this bullpen just yet. Game 2 of this 3-game series tonight, 7:05. Tucker Davidson will take on Zach Eflin. 7:05, you can hear that game on 6A The Fan and the 6A The Fan mobile app. Make sure you like and follow the Daily 10. Also, while you're at it, 5-star and write a nice review. It goes a long way to help us out. Send it to a friend, too. It's 10 minutes every day, normally hosted by somebody far better than me and Matt Chernoff, getting you set for the day in sports. And it's all brought to you by the Daily Draft in Woodstock. 10% off of your lunch order when you mention the Daily 10 at the Daily Draft in downtown Woodstock. We'll see you tomorrow with more of the Daily 10.
Subscribe to the Daily 10 now and get the latest breaking news and biggest stories of the day every morning. Get more at 680thefan.com or subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Google, or wherever you get your favorite shows.